Welcome to Roma Sonoma, where we explore the rich history and vibrant future of two iconic places, Sonoma, California, and Rome, Italy. I'm Layne. I'm a wine journalist in Sonoma.
And I'm Pia. I'm a sommelier based in Rome. And today we are going to be exploring some of our favorite wineries in California and in Italy.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to start with a little bit of history about Sonoma because Sonoma, little known fact, Sonoma Valley, which is a part of Sonoma County, is actually the first wine region of California. It was the first AVA appellation. And yeah, and so there's a lot of history there. So I decided to focus on a couple of wineries in this area because I think that a lot of people, if you're not really wine people and know a lot about the different areas, wouldn't necessarily know this area. So Sonoma County is the big part that everyone calls Sonoma, but within Sonoma County, there's a town called Sonoma, and around that town is Sonoma Valley. I'm going to make it a little more complicated and say, and right above it is Sonoma Mountain. Okay.
Mhm.
But just kind of like the way that everyone talks about the area is Sonoma.
Yeah.
So anyway, the very first premium, well, no, the oldest premium winery in California is in Sonoma, and it's called Buena Vista. And
Yeah.
that was started in 1857 by Count Hagathy, I think is his name, or Hagathy. And he's not really a count, he's a character. He came from somewhere in Europe. He brought about 500 varieties, European varieties with him back in the day when you could do that. And he started and he started Buena Vista. Just to tell you what a character he is, he died in an accident in a swamp eaten by an alligator. That's how he died.
Oh my
So
God.
he was like some adventure guy or whatever. But anyway, they still call him the Count.
Swamp. Where?
He was traveling the world, you know.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was going to say,
so
I just think there were alligators in California.
no swamps in Sonoma Valley. And but anyway, so Buena Vista still stands, and it was completely restored about 20-30 years ago and purchased by the Boisset collection. And so it is still really an iconic place to visit. It has a lot of history there. If you want to know about California wine history, it's a good place to start. And the wines are very good because Boisset is an excellent company. Right down the road from Buena Vista are two other wineries that are just completely different. One of
Okay.
them is like I would say world-class wine level, an enormous winery. Not necessarily like as far as being, it's not a mass-produced winery, but the grounds are incredible. It is gorgeous. It has one of the largest outdoor sculpture gardens in the world. It
Oh my goodness.
combines art. Oh, you just can't imagine. I'll post some images and I'll obviously a link, but it's called Donum Estate. And it was actually founded,
I've heard of it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's founded by a woman who now has gone on to start her own winery called Blue Farm. And she's doing all kinds of organic practice and sustainability with her daughter. But she started Donham, and Donham, the wines are exquisite. It is a place that even people who live here aren't super familiar with. It's actually on the border of Napa and Sonoma. So
Okay.
it's in an area called Carneros, which is known for kind of cool climate wine. So it does excellent Pinot and
I was going
Chardonnay,
to say, wow.
beautiful wines. But it's an experience to see the outdoor sculpture garden. You really need, well, they do guided tours in ATVs. And so it's such an expansive property, and it's just so amazing to see these things, really out of this world kind of installations, and it's just beautiful. Just, as I said, I'll link everything, but do check it out. And if you're in the area, I highly recommend visiting it, but you will need reservations for that. Another place is called Scribe, and it's so different because it also was a historical place, not as historical as Buena Vista, but it was an old prohibition-era speakeasy. And it's kind of like this old mansion in the middle of like farmland, and it had been abandoned. It had become a turkey farm, and then it was abandoned for a long time. And these kids bought it, and I call them kids. They're in their 20s, maybe even their 30s now. But they were two brothers and a sister, and they wanted to get into the wine business, and so they were looking for a property, and they found this abandoned place. I still can't. I interviewed. Well, I've interviewed all these people that I'm talking about, but I interviewed this guy, one of the brothers, who kind of claimed that they got such a good deal, like it was really a good deal. But I will tell you what they've done with it is outstanding. It looks like Architectural Digest inside, very, very homey, because it's a home. It's an old home, and it's like you could live there. But it's called Scribe. They call it Scribe because they say it's kind of like they're not rewriting, but they're writing down the history of this area.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
and
so cool.
holding on to it. Yeah. And the building itself is called the Hacienda. So the Hacienda is basically, they've made it like a membership club. You have to be a member to go there.
Okay.
And then it's like got all those, like kind of like a plantation, like outdoor verandas with tables set up and lounge sofas. And it kind of is where all the cool kids go. It is kind of where all the cool kids go. It's got great food, and it's got good wine, and it's a beautiful property and a beautiful house. That's something to see. And I say, like, you have to be a member, whatever. I believe you can just, like, if you want to go visit, pay that fee, and then you can visit. But it kind of is made for people who are more in the area, and that's like kind of their gathering place. And it's a lot of cool kids. So those are three very different wineries, but they're all within the same vicinity. If you want to visit those, Buena Vista is the easiest to visit. I don't think you have to have a reservation, and there's all kinds of stuff to learn. They'll just teach you so much. They have champagne caves there from 1800s. It's a really, really interesting place. So those would be my three of the day. It's hard to say favorites, isn't it? But I will say I narrowed it down into a little area of those are some excellent suggestions of wineries to visit in Sonoma.
Those are awesome recommendations. God, that's kind of hard to match. So I know, because I was thinking a lot about this, like, well, what are some of my top wineries for the moment? And I kind of keep going back to the same ones, because there's such an experience to them. And one which we've talked about in different episodes that we've done is Marco Carpinetti. And as you know well, Layne,
yeah,
it is nestled kind of south of Rome in the Lazio region. And it is an incredibly interesting family-run business. So it was inherited by Marco, I think, in the 1960s or 70s. And he was a real innovator in that he wanted to do organic farming at that time. And you can imagine in the 70s in Italy, in the Lazio, which of all regions is lesser known for wine as opposed to, Tuscany or Piedmont. And, he decided, he was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I want to do organic farming. I believe in it. I want to go back to the roots of how viticulture was undertaken in the past. And basically it's incredible. So he set up, he bought little plots of land. So he inherited this land and then bought more and more plots of land. And he rediscovered the indigenous grapes of the Lazio region. So one of my all-time favorites is his Capolimone Bianco.
Oh, okay.
And his Capolimone Bianco is a Bellone, which again is an indigenous grape that they used to use to like cut blends in the past. I mean, it was considered a nothing grape, and he really decided he wanted to give value to those grapes. So he put the focus on them and did 100% Bellone, and it is just a fresh bouquet of kind of citrus, high minerality, freshness, a great summer wine, great, for example, with a plate of spaghetti alle vongole. And if you go to the winery itself, they have a beautiful restaurant there where you can, overlooking the hills of these beautiful towns nearby. So you've got Cori, you've got Sermoneta. It's all these really pre-Roman towns nearby, which are just wonderful to go and visit. And then another wine that he has that's kind of one of his really famous ones is Maro, which is Nero Buono, again, another indigenous grape that no one paid any attention to. And he really rediscovered and put, focus on. And it's incredible. It's just
It's
really
incredible.
great wines. And,
Right.
I had great fortune when I was there to meet with his daughter, who is also running it with him. So it's a family business, and she has every intention to continue the business. She does a lot of the activities that they do. So you can go horse riding, you can do some of the harvesting. I think there are lots of they've invested in team building for, companies, because that's a big thing, by the way. I don't know, is that a big thing in California as well? That like
Um,
going to wineries for like team building
yeah,
exercises.
I think all companies kind of do those team building things. It's really annoying. Yeah.
No, I know it's one of these. It's so crazy, but yeah. So you can do this there as well, and it's well worth visiting. The grounds are absolutely beautiful, and you get a real taste of real Lazio wine. That's what I like about it, made with traditional methods. I think it's well worth it.
I
And then
totally agree.
yeah,
I think that's a great, great, great recommendation, Marco Carpinetti. And I love that it's Lazio because there is
exactly.
so much to see in Lazio. And people need to understand that, yeah, it has a history of making, more of a consumer, mass produced, let's say, wine or, bulk wine. But that's not what's happening there now. And there's
No,
so much that's so interesting and so good. And I mean, just it's well worth it. And Marco Carpinetti, he really is kind of like the gold standard there. He is.
I know, no, it really is. It is a gold standard of wine. And if you think about it, like these wines are really not that expensive. Like a bottle of Capolimone, and believe me, compared to what people are used to paying in California, it's 14 euros, 1 4 for a bottle.
Shocking. Shocking. That just, you can't even imagine what you would get here for 14 euro. It would be, yeah, no, I mean, that is one of the beautiful things about Italy, and especially Lazio too, is because, yeah, you can just really get such good value for good wine. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it really is.
Can
And
I
so,
say, I thought you were going to talk about Cuse.
yeah, yes,
That's what
and
I was saying.
no, you know what? But an excellent thing to raise. Honestly, Kius is one of my favorite traditional method wines. I think in Italy, again, at an incredibly affordable price. It's just so good. And there's something about doing sparkling with Bologna as your base grape. It just comes out fantastically.
Yeah.
It really
So just
does.
to clarify for listeners, that's another Marco Carpinetti wine. It's a his sparkling, very, very popular, very popular. So
Yeah.
good.
No, you say that very popular, but again, very popular in Lazio.
In
You know
Lazio,
what?
in Lazio.
What's up, Lazio? Not that many people know Chius. I mean, more and more people have heard about Marco Carpinetti, but not like Chius or that his signature wines know. Whereas now in Rome, for example, a lot of people will recognize his bottles, because you've got that blue with the 3 gold stars.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, just in doing some different research that I've done on looking at buying things, it is available, Marco Carpinetti in the US. You can get, yeah, you can get many of his wines in the US. I'm not sure about Cuse, but I know some of his others. I've seen them.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah, it is really good. I think that there are several Lazio producers that you can get, but again, it's nothing like the other regions. It's still quite small, but Marco Carpinetti is the one that I would say. Also Cincinnato. Cincinnato is also very international, but Marco Carpinetti, I think, stands out in a
Yeah.
way. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's the bottles and all of that as well. But no, he does excellent work. Excellent work.
Yeah, really pioneering. And then the other example I had was actually moving away from Lazio. It's more in the north, so it's more towards north of Rome, I mean. So it's in Umbria, and it's Arnaldo Caprai. And you'll recall we discussed this in another episode that we were talking about. I went to this winery for a special birthday that I had last year, and I'm a big fan of Sagrantino, which is the signature red grape of Umbria. And if you think about Sagrantino, you think about Arnaldo Caprai. It is another family-run business, which is amazing. founded in, I think it was 1971, and by this guy, Arnaldo Caprai. But Sagrantino at the time, which is this super tannic grape, was a sweet wine. And he took it over and he decided, you know what, the son, Marco, was like, I'm going to make this a dry red. So he did a sort of collaboration with this enologist from Bordeaux called Michel Roland, to really try and kind of soften these tannins as a priority of theirs. And they managed to produce this incredible Sagrantino di Montefalco, which is the DOCG, so the AVA equivalent here in Italy. And it is fantastic. It is not for the faint-hearted. You have to really like your structured, very high tannin, strong, full-bodied reds, but I think it's amazing. And actually, if you want something that's slightly more drinkable to start with, just, easier to drink, then you can have the Rosso di Montefalco, which is actually a nice blend of Sangiovese, Sagrantino, and Merlot. And it's just easier, it's an easier kind of, it's just easier on the palate.
Would you say that the full Sagrantino is more for aging? Would it need to be aged?
Yes,
would it be better aged?
it's an excellent wine for aging. Excellent.
Yeah.
You need to decant it properly. And it's a wine that you would have with a stew, with a piece of meat, like a steak. It's really that kind of wine that you want with very strong tasting, even game would be perfect with it. So it's just, it's, it makes me think of, not that it's similar in taste, but the kind of thing that you would have with Amarone della Valpolicella. So you can't just have it like that. You've got to have it, a pairing with the appropriate food. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But really great, beautiful grounds.
Is their winemaker or their winemaking consultant Michel Roland?
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, he's very famous. Very famous
and
for his
amazing at what he's done. And going there, they're so nice, and they show you around and they show you this incredible method by which they make it, which I mean is, they age it completely in barrique. So I mean, it doesn't see stainless steel at all. It goes straight to barrique. They put it through, I think it's like, nitrogen to make it so cold. And it's really just a way that this enologist has found to kind of soften these tannins. And he's been incredibly successful. Really, really.
And what is their price point? It sounds like it's probably
so that is a good question.
Fancy.
So I think we're higher than Carpinetti. So I think we're on about maybe the higher end of 20 to 30 euros. So it's still probably less than California.
Hearing that, just the description, Michel Roland, the whole thing, I'm thinking, it's got to be, well, it would be for us like 150. So there, it's probably got to be like 80 or 70 maybe.
No, it's just not. I mean, no. And also because, and I actually, this would be something fascinating to talk about in another episode, in a future episode, but there's certain wines that you could put at a price point, right? But they have to have that kind of international recognition or some
like
kind of
Sassicaia.
Yeah, like Sassicaia, exactly. Otherwise, people simply won't buy them. You've got very expensive Barolo. You've got very expensive Amarone del Valpolicella. You've got very expensive Brunello, Sassicaia, the Super Tuscans, all of that. But it's because people, they're looking for that. A Sagrantino, I don't honestly think that anyone would spend ever anything, upward of a couple of hundred tops.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day. Well, it's kind of off topic, but we were talking a little bit about Heidi Barrett, that winemaker and the Women of Wine.
Yeah, of course.
Did I mention that she made the bottle that sold at the highest price ever? She broke the world record. It sold for like, I did tell you, was it 350 or 350,000 or was it 500,000? What?
That's just,
I mean, obviously it must have gone to charity or something, but still is crazy. And then apparently I think I read somewhere that the person who bought it then like drank it on I don't know, like let's say his 50th wedding anniversary or something like that. There was some special thing that he then, but yeah, okay, yeah, prices are nuts. Prices can definitely be, that's not the norm here, that is not the norm, but they are high. So, well, great. I think that that's actually those are great examples and in two different regions as well. So that's very nice. And then yeah, we'll be back to you soon with some new and more wineries and more recommendations. And until then, well, arrivederci.
Arrivederci and salute. Sorry, I'm drinking my glass of wine. Salute.
I have nothing.
All right. Thanks a
Okay.
lot, Layne, and look forward to talking to you next time.
Okay, subscribe,
Yeah, subscribe.
follow, and comment. Bye, everyone.